Over the past few months, I've had the honor and privilege of attending peaceful protests across the city of Bridgeport, and most of these protests have been led by young students of color. And many of these young students of color, they have hit the streets. They have talked to their elected leaders, like myself, and they sent us here with a task. And they said, the system doesn't work for us. It doesn't work for people who are black and brown. The system is broken. And we just can't go back to the status quo. We all know this was a movement that was started by the tragic death of George Floyd in Minnesota. And we've all seen the video. It was tragic. It was painful. But incidents like that don't just happen on the other side of the country. They happen in our own backyard. Many of my colleagues have mentioned, aforementioned, the late Jason Negron, who was a 15-year-old young man who unfortunately was slain at the hands of a police officer in Bridgeport. Young Mr. Negron was handcuffed. He was no longer a threat, and he succumbed to his injuries. He literally bled out. And when I saw young Jason Negron gasping for air, a pool of blood forming around his body, I immediately thought about my son, because my son was the same age as young Mr. Jason Negron. Could you imagine as a parent going to a police scene and seeing your child gasping for air, and there was absolutely nothing that you can do to save your child? Absolutely nothing. You're helpless. George Floyd, when he had his knee on his neck, he asked for his mother. He asked for his mother. His mother wasn't even alive. He asked for his mother. That broke my heart. What happened to Jason Negron broke my heart. Jason should be 18 years old right now, just like my son, getting ready to vote in his first presidential election, getting ready to go to college. And I've seen this movie before. We've been talking about this issue since before I was elected. Many of these fighters, folks like Senator Winfield, have been fighting this fight for a long time. And I want to thank him and Chairman Staffstrom for all the hard work that they've done. But I'm tired of talking to bad apples, because this isn't an agriculture bill. We're talking about police accountability and bad cops. And it is a privilege to be a public servant and to serve the community. So I urge my colleagues to strike down this amendment. Thank you, Madam Chair.